I'm not going to cut tongues off of, my harvest pictures to make those photos more aesthetic. If I see somebody, dogging a teenage boy on a Facebook group in the comments, hey, you should have let him grow another year. I can't hold back and not say anything, hey, your mom should have let you grow another year, something like that.
All right, folks, let's talk about the state of hunting in 2025, where half the country thinks a whitetail is just a cryptid that lives in freezer meat TikToks, and the other half is too effing busy fighting over whether using a saddle makes you an alpha or a beta, or maybe somewhere in between. We're not sure. So we've reached the point where you can field dress a buck with your teeth, hike 10 miles in the rain, shoot straight, and still get told online you're not a real hunter because your Instagram does not have a drone shot of your rifle laid across a mossy stump with a quote from Teddy Roosevelt. Meanwhile, every state is trying to regulate hunters like we're cartel smugglers. Colorado killed OTC tags for non-residents faster than Bud Light killed its market share. You want to chase elk there now? Better marry into the right zip code, grow a mullet, and learn how to say, I identify as a local. Oh, and Florida's not immune. Whew, Jesus, take the airboat. Just last week, some guy tried to baptize a bobcat in the canal behind a Waffle House. Game wardens found him drunk, shirtless, and yelling, he's got the demon in him. Honestly, that might have been our next guest neighbor. Which brings me to tonight's episode, because while half of the hunting industry is out here debating camo patterns and the other half is figuring out how to get sponsored to fake bow hunt on TikTok, Emily Andrews is dragging deer out of the woods by the legs, alone, unfiltered, and unapologetic. She's not here to kiss your or sell your favorite brand of boot warmers. She's a self-taught, corn-slinging, rule-breaking single mom who can shoot straighter than your ego and clap back harder than your ex on whiskey. And no, she's not building a brand, she's building memories with her kid, meat for a freezer, and probably a hit list of every soft-ass social media hunter who thinks a solo mom in the woods can't outwork him. So if you're tired of the fake pro staff culture, the pearl clutching over inappropriate grip and grins, and the influencer fluff that makes hunting look like a fashion show in the woods, stick around. Tonight, we get into what it means to hunt hard, parent harder, and tell every single gatekeeper in the industry to kindly go themselves. Welcome back to the Saltlick Worldwide Podcast, the show that slices through the fake like a gut hook on opening morning. I'm Sean Kogut, and today's guest isn't here to make friends. She's here to make it clear being real, being tough, and being unapologetic still matters. Stick around.
Welcome to the Saltlick Worldwide Podcast, your ultimate destination for hunting, fishing, conservation, and gear. From international hotspots to the backwoods of America, we bring you the real stories, raw opinions, and the conversations others won't have. Buckle up. The adventure starts now. My guest tonight is Emily Andrews, a self-taught hunter, a single mom, and the first female chapter president of Whitetails Unlimited in Maryland. She's a walking contradiction to every industry stereotype. No filters, no fluff, just fun on the field tested authenticity. So Emily, welcome to the show.
Hi.
How are you? Good to finally meet you.
Good, how are you? You as well.
Good, yeah. I mean, we've only been at this, trying to put this together for like 3 or 4 months.
Yeah, that's what happens when we try to plan something during a season.
Oh, yeah. God forbid we do anything during hunting season other than hunt.
Absolutely.
Or talk about it. But yeah, so for the people that aren't familiar with you, like I said, I kind of came across you and reached out to you on Facebook initially. I was just kind of drawn to you because you've got that you really don't give a shit attitude. And I'm one of those people, we call out a lot of, we call it, the fake influencer, right? There's this, for whatever reason, this growing trend in the hunting industry where you get, especially on the female side, and it happens on the men's side too, but especially on the female side where, you get these women that go out there and, they put a bikini on and go out and shoot their bow and film themselves and they get tens of thousands of likes and they get sponsorships for this and that. I'm like, what person in the world is going to watch that and go out and buy that bow because she just, it's, and to me, I have a hard time with it. And there are some people that are doing it the right way and they're working their ass off. And that's you. So when I see your posts and I see your reels and, you're hunting with your kid and you're fitting time in to go outside and be in the outdoors and hunting with him too, I think it's awesome. And especially like you've got some great one-liners too, when somebody gives you a comment or something and you get pissy right back after them. And I love it.
Yes. Yeah, no, people either really love it or really hate it. The ones who are it seems like a lot of the older guys who have just put in the work for years and are out there, like, still grinding, they love it. Like, they don't take any offense to it. It's the ones that it applies to them that take offense.
Yeah, and like I said, that's what kind of drew me to you was that like just no bullshit, just go get it done attitude, and frankly, it appears like from my perspective anyway, it's like you don't give a what anybody else thinks. You're just going to go do it and make it your own.
Yeah, I mean, I have a full-time job that has nothing to do with hunting. They don't, I've talked to all of them. I'm like, hey, look, like, I'm just posting about hunting. It has nothing to do with work. I'm not racist. I'm not posting political things, but I am a little bold in the things I say. But it only offends hunters, which you guys don't have anything to do with. So I can kind of say a lot of the things with freedom on that aspect. And my job, I pay for hunting, right? Like I don't depend on any sponsorships or companies that cut me checks to go hunt. I can afford it. So I fortunately don't have to tone it down for anyone. I can kind of be pretty bold and open. So
Yeah, and like I said, I like that. And, following you through, turkey season this year too, a lot of what I see from, we'll call it I call them fake influencers, right? They're not actually hunters. They're just trying to make it look like that. But, you went out, I mean, you hunted several days and
yep.
trudged it out during turkey season before you finally got a bird. Not the influencer that wants out there and only shows us that one scene. I mean, you're out there just, whether it's cold, whether it's windy, whether it's raining, you're out there just getting it done. And like I said, that's and you kind of make fun at yourself at the same time and you can laugh about it. And that's what I like, hunting's not always about killing. In fact, that's a very small margin of it. It's about being outside and enjoying nature and teaching people. And you do that with your son, it looks like, is you're bringing him up to
Mhm.
be an outdoorsy person. And like I said, I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, I love showing the process. You don't ever see that. You see all these trophy pics from all these outfitted hunts, these group hunts, these guided hunts. Great, love it. But like, I I want to know, how you missed that turkey at 10 yards. I want to know that you chased that buck for 3 seasons in a row. He only grew to about 90 inches, but you were on his ass because you wanted him. And, I want to know that process of how many times you went out before you finally got it. And, that's what intrigues me. That's what excites me. So that's what I choose to do is show that process, whether we kill something or not. I want to throw it up and let everybody know, like, we're all going through the same thing out here. We're chasing these turkeys. They're not calling back for days at a time. And it is what it is.
Yeah, get all hand up and just that's it. There's no, you
Yep,
can't even get them to talk to you anymore. Maybe a shot
exactly.
gobble off the roost first thing in the morning and they just die. Like it drives me
Silence.
crazy.
Yep,
Yeah, and that's the thing,
exactly.
hunting's not pretty and it's not easy. Like you got to put in your time. Yes, you can certainly, there's high fence hunts and there's other things you can do and those people will accommodate, yes, I only have 2 days to get it done and they'll get it done. And outfitters that aren't necessarily high fence that do it every day. Yeah. But going out there and doing it yourself and putting in the time and scouting and everything, man, it's hard. Like there's a lot involved that people just don't understand. They, like I said,
Yeah,
they see the grip and grins on Facebook and Instagram, right? After the fact, they don't know what went into it.
yep. Yeah, I mean, I can put in work for months and months and months and months to go out there and maybe kill one thing a season sometimes. That's how it happens. You spend thousands of dollars prepping and getting properties ready and to spend even more money getting out there and staying in a hotel. But, sometimes when you want to travel far and want to stay out for a couple of days, um, just to maybe kill one, one deer, it
Yeah.
sucks, but it's
Yeah.
reality.
Yeah.
And that's real hunting.
Or to get the opportunity at one deer. Yeah, that's the thing.
Yes.
It's you got to seal the deal
Yep.
at that point in time. You did everything right,
Yep.
so you got to focus and pull it off one more time. So tell me, how did you get into hunting? And was this something you were raised around? Did your parents raise you in a hunting environment, or is it just something you found later in life?
So I grew up in Georgia. My dad and uncles were what we call outlaw hunters. They've since passed, so I can tell their stories. My earliest childhood memory of hunting, I was probably 5 years old. My older sister was maybe 7 or 8. We were in my dad's pickup truck, and I'm ducked down, in the floorboard, and she's rolling down the window, grabbing the spotlight for my dad's deer to put it out the window. He's grabbing the rifle, and I don't know, it had to be summer. I'm barefoot in a dress and, he's shooting a deer out the window of the truck, stuff like that. So my dad and uncles, their lifestyle was shooting to kill. Or sorry, shooting. I got to redo that. That was horrible.
No, it's fine.
Just go back.
It sounds like
No.
they were hunting to fill the freezer. So it sounds like.
So they were killing for food, and that was it. They weren't killing for antlers. They weren't killing for trophies. If they got lucky and shot something with a couple points, they mounted it. But it was killing for food, and they had no restrictions, no limits. It was when the freezers are full, we'll stop hunting. And maybe it's not considered hunting. They got it any way they could. They grew food plots. They put out bait. They drove down past power lines and fields and things like that. And so that's what I grew up in. Obviously, we raised animals and things like that for food as well. But when it came to hunting, deer, turkey, pheasant, it was however we got to get it. Um, and then my son, when he turned 3 and could climb a deer stand safely, that's when I really got into it independently. Um, so that's kind of when we went full blown on our own.
That's awesome. So,
Yep.
well, I mean, so you're self-taught, right? So you did have a little bit,
Yes.
bringing up, but
Hmm.
it's more of a run and gun and kind of right front kind of stuff, which is fine. I mean, I listen, I don't throw shade at those people that are hunting for food, right? If it's, if and it happens in a lot of rural America where a lot of the protein sources, that's where it comes from. I mean, it comes from
Yep.
game that they're harvesting. So for me, it's kind of a double-edged sword. Yeah, well, there may be some legalities surrounding it. It is what it
Right.
is, kind of in some of those places. But so, what was the learning curve like? I mean, you were self-taught, so just dive into that a little bit. I mean, there must have been
Yeah.
struggles.
So when I moved to Maryland, I didn't know what a hunting license was. I didn't know what a tag was. I didn't know what legal shooting times were. I met a friend who said, "Hey, come hunting with me." They gave me a little headlamp, and I'm like, "Wow, that's awesome!" So like, someone doesn't have to hold the spotlight for me. That's super innovative. I love that. I literally did not know you could not hunt at night, and so they're like, "Okay, you have to sit in a stand. We can bait. You got to hunt over food plots." And I'm like, "What? What does this mean?" I was so used to in my brain, you open up a back window, turn on a light, and there's a deer and you shoot it, whatever's there. So just the legalities and the conservation side, I didn't understand that. We don't just blow out the woods everything we see. We got to kind of be mindful and reasonable. That's why there's tag limits. So that was a big issue for me. I still struggle with it, understanding conservation, understanding some of the, deer diseases and baiting and why that's not good. So I've been learning different ways to hunt. Um, I had a couple of issues with planting Milo about a month before turkey season. That's how I knew to bring in the turkeys in a field, right? You put the Milo down, you plant something, they're going to come in that field and start pecking around. I got cussed out by the club president, one of the clubs I'm in for that. I had to go out and pick each seed up, one by one. But I have hunted the legal way since going out on my own and being an adult. Um, and that's all my son has seen. He can grow up and kind of see, mom doesn't have to spotlight for deer and she does it the right way. And I'm pretty proud of that. But that's been my biggest struggle, is just learning the legalities of hunting.
Yeah, and every state and every species is different too. I mean, there's a ton of it to know. I broached it earlier, the fact that your son is in so many of your videos and so many of your posts. So what's the story behind you getting involved and bringing him and doing that? Because as a single mom, I expect that as of a dad, and no harm. I don't mean that in a negative way, but I expect fathers to
Just
take their kid.
typical.
Yeah, right. So
Yep.
what was that like light switch, or what happened with you where you said, no, I'm going to do this and I'm going to involve him from an early age?
Well, so my son Rory, he's never had a father figure in his life. It's just been me and him since birth. And the reality is, children that grow up without fathers tend to have issues in life, and don't get the experiences that, especially little boys, that really they should, and the skills passed down that they should be getting from a male figure. So, I wanted to make sure that he did not miss out on any life skills that typically a father would teach him. That's Some of those skills are necessary for him to become a man. We talk about raising good and disciplined men. That's how you do it, by teaching them, how to harvest their own food, how to survive in the woods, how to handle situations, how to have patience, which is what hunting has done for him and has allowed me to teach him. And so, that's where it started. I was like, okay, what would a dad, if he had one, teach him? I started writing it down, and just trying to knock out what I could make sure he didn't miss. We tried tennis and golf, but he was horrible. It was not very good at either of those. That's hard for a little small kid to catch on to. I think he'll like golf later in life once he realizes it's like bird watching and golf cart beers. But anyways, that's what prompted it. I wanted a hobby where it could teach him the skills that a dad typically would, and also something that him and I could do together. Which those sports are two people sports are pretty limited.
Yeah, no, for sure. And no, and it's great. And like I said, you do a really good job of that. And like I said,
Thank
you
you.
two are always together, and
Yep.
he's obviously a big part of your life. And
Hmm.
kudos to you for going out and getting it done. There's plenty of single parents out there, but I
Hmm.
think that raising your son in the outdoors like that, is definitely
Yeah,
unique. I mean, it's hard enough for single parents to
absolutely.
begin with, male or female, and then to actually be able to spend that much time and do that kind of thing. That takes dedication for sure.
Hmm. Absolutely.
So, one of the things, and you kind of broached it earlier, and you've made it clear that you're not in it for sponsorships, and you're not in it for clout. So why then? Why is that?
So I'm not putting on camo and posing with animals because it's trendy or it's going to make me money. Hunting is my lifestyle and something I live for. Um, I share content of me and my son out in the woods because it gives us peace. It kind of gives us a break from that Monday through Friday grind of DC, Baltimore traffic, school, all the things. And, it changed my life. I was prior to getting into hunting with him, I was a depressed single mom. I was miserable. And we started going out in the woods and working towards something together. And it just gave me peace and a purpose that I did not have before that. Um, and I just want to share that with people. And I want other single moms who are, in that position, or other single parents in general, to see that and kind of inspire them. At the end of the day, it's we're just out here in the woods and trying to find some peace. Um, we can I cuss and say a lot of out of pocket things on my social media accounts. Um, and a lot of people just don't want to hear some of the things that I say because they are so crude or so direct. We can talk conservation, high level deer management all day long, but at the end of the day, we're killing an animal for food. We're prepping land to kill an animal for food. I'm not going to cut tongues off of, my harvest pictures to make those photos more aesthetic. If I see somebody, dogging a teenage boy on a Facebook group in the comments, hey, you should have let him grow another year. I can't hold back and not say anything, hey, you know, your mom should have let you grow another year or something like that. Like I would just feel compelled to say these things. And brands and sponsors and companies, they don't like that. They kind of scare away from loudmouth people in general, especially loudmouth women. So to be honest, it's a little bit too controversial for them. So it's kind of how that works out.
And we're very much like that. I don't know how much of our content you've seen, but I'm not afraid to press somebody's buttons. Like I'll just
Right.
get in there and ask the hard questions, and we've always prided ourselves on the no sponsorship thing. So long as we can continue to keep doing what we like to do, I'm not beholden to anybody that way. So I can get on a podcast and I can cuss and I can make fun of people and I can say whatever the hell I want, and I don't have to worry about getting a shitty email from a sponsor that, hey, you made us look bad because you said this or this. So
Right.
fortunately for us, we've never been put in that position because we've just chosen not to have sponsorships, and we've been able to grow this thing. Now it's taken a long, long time. We've been at it for a long time to get kind of where we are right now, and we're still growing. But kudos to you for once again not caving in. It's so easy for people to want to chase the easy dollar, and that's what I think I'm seeing a lot of. Just chasing the dollar and for lack of a better term, pimping themselves out, on social
Right.
media, for that almighty dollar and that sponsorship. And I think it's horrible. and I hate it. Like I call people out like crazy all the time. You see all these pictures, it's like it's all B-roll footage of, getting into the stand and walking to the stand and taking the buggy. But if you look at it, it's all product placement through the whole thing, all these videos that people are
Right.
doing. I'm like, this has nothing to do with hunting. This is a commercial. That's what you just made. Now, in some cases, it's a very well done commercial. It's still a commercial.
Yeah.
What did you do for the group? What did you do for hunting in general? What have you done for conservation? You've not done shit. You put together a highlight reel for 4 different sponsors, and that's it. I mean,
Yeah. It's everybody is just kind of becoming the same. It's just cookie cutter hunter. That's what it's becoming. So
yeah, and what's your? I mean, going down that rabbit hole, do you think ultimately has social media done more good for hunting, or in this case, is social media bad for hunting in the industry?
so I'll tell you, it's divided obviously, but back in the day when someone wanted to film their hunt and put it on TV, there were a lot of hoops that needed to be jumped to through, and you needed a lot of money to do that. And so there was just a handful of select people who got lucky enough to do that or have the financial backing to do that, and those were the people we looked up to. So now anybody can film a hunt. Anybody can put it on YouTube or any other social media platform pretty much for free or almost. And so I think that it gives platforms to everybody and gives everybody an opportunity, um, to try to put themselves out there and to try to show others what they're doing, which is awesome. However, it's become very commercialized and, we're just, you know, I don't, I'm trying not to offend people, but
Come if they can't take a joke.
I'm, you can kind of, or someone who grew up around hunting, who puts the work in the woods, can tell the difference between someone like them and someone who has only ever done outfitted and group hunts. There's nothing wrong with outfitters, nothing wrong with guides. They serve a purpose and great people. However, I don't think that if that is all you have ever done, that you should be an influencer. You should have a huge voice and impact on hunting. I think that it's just very different.
And I agree. I mean, it's one thing, like, and we kind of I lightly touched that earlier. It's one thing to go out and put in the time and do it yourself, and it's another thing to pay an outfitter. Those are
Right.
two totally separate hunts. And, and I don't want to talk shit about an outfitter because they have their place. They absolutely do. And they're good at what they do. That's why people are successful. But when you try to play it as though, you've gone out there and you've put in all the hard work, do you mean you've put in 2 days worth of, walking behind your guide and going pick up the deer that you just shot kind of hard work? Because that's not really an entire season worth of, of time. Or, we've chased the same deer in Kentucky. We chased it for 3 years. I carved out the side of a mountain with a track hoe to put a food plot in because we know where he lived and we know where he bedded. And then finally, after 3 years, we waited to the exact front came through, the exact right wind. My buddy Mike went and shot the deer on the first sit, and nearly a 200-inch, gorgeous whitetail. It took us 3 years to chase that deer, and we've got 3 years of history. That was the first time I've ever seen a grown man cry. Swear to God, you put in 3 years chasing something and working and passing quality deer too. He passed deer because he wanted to hunt this specific deer, and you only get one butt tag in that state. So, use it or lose it kind of thing. And he didn't want to hang it on there early. So he spent 3 years chasing one deer, and there's a lot of time and effort and money that goes into that stuff too. And people just don't realize that.
Yeah, on my TikTok, I get a lot of hate, especially like with corn piles or a food plot I'm doing or something like that. I haven't been posting a lot of that recently, but back when I first started it, and it never fails. The ones with the biggest mouth about baiting or about, oh, should have let them grow another year. That's a young deer. I click on their stuff and it's all deer tagged through outfitter. They're tagging the outfitter that they shot them through. And so that's what I mean when I say like their voice. Their voice is always the loudest, and why there's a divide between all these outfitted hunting influencers and the people that are actually out here putting in the work. Because that deer I posted that you talked shit about, it took me several seasons to get him. I tried to stalk hunt him. I tried to find his bed. I tried to grow a food plot for him. I exhausted everything I had to get that single deer, passed up on everything else, like just to get that one deer because I couldn't let up until I got him. And so when you know what you've done to get that single buck, that's about 90 inches. He ain't like, these people that are posting all these other deer, they probably would have never even looked twice at that deer, but you're just so proud of it because that's the first deer that showed up on a trail camera on the first piece of property you leased, things like that. Um, one of these assholes who only ever done outfitted hunts, you're like, whatever.
Well, or or that
Yeah.
hunts in one of those big buck states. They're in Ohio
Yeah.
with a large tract of land that
Right.
somebody gives them because they're an influencer, or they're hunting in Ohio or Iowa or Kansas. Where these are monsters, and there's now draw states, but because they're hunting with an outfitter, they've always got the best plot. I get it. It sucks, and it's easy to talk shit, right? If you go out 3 times a year and you're doing these outfitted hunts, and you're going to get an opportunity to booner every time you go out, it's easy to talk shit because you're not doing it the same
Yeah.
way. I look at guys like Aaron in the hunting public, for example. Those guys, I really like them. Listen, I don't know how much public hunting you've done. That hard, like that.
I just started public hunting last season for the first time, and I'm spoiled. I am lucky. Maryland is a great state for deer hunting, and I don't think I have, maybe 1 or 2 times that I've sat that I haven't seen a single deer. But seeing between 10 to 25 deer in a food plot or a corn pile is like normal. They're not the biggest up in Western Maryland where I predominantly hunt, but public hunting, I went out there and didn't see anything for days. I'm like, I know y'all go home and beat your wives because this is stressful as hell.
Right?
This
Yeah.
how domestic violence starts, son, because my God. But yeah, no, that's public land is another monster, and I respect the hell out of people who only hunt public land. They're badasses.
Well, and it's like if you watch the hunting public guys, not only do they hunt public land, they are successful a lot of the time. And one thing about them, though, they're not chasing the biggest animal out there. They're hunting public land. They take what they can get. If it's a legal
Really,
animal,
whatever shows up.
yeah, and I get it too. I mean, these guys, and I feel bad for people. I've been afforded some opportunity in that I have a farm that I own in Kentucky. We have a farm in Ohio. We have a place in Georgia. We have a place in Florida. I don't have to just hunt public land, but I've got a friend of mine, Oscar, that's been on the podcast several times. He doesn't have any land. Like, he's got to hunt public land. And he was telling me, for years, before we met, he's like, yeah, I mean, how many times did you hunt this year? He's like, I don't know. I think I've been, 40, 50 sets now. I'm like, well, how many deer have you seen? One. Like, running away, flagging as it was going. I'm like, are you shitting me? He's like, yeah, 9 times out of 10, the hunt gets blown up. Somebody walks right by. Or I'm like, are you And so I've never had to experience it. So yes, if somebody's going to give me shit when I cut this, yes, I'm the guy. I've been public hunting, I think, twice, and it was for turkey. Though turkey in Florida, it's, especially when I grew up, it was a lot different. Like, you could actually go out and be successful, hunting an Osceola in public on a regular basis. I don't know that it's like that now, but I just don't have that experience doing it. But I look at people and I see how hard it is and how limited success there is. I'm like, oh, fuck, as bad as it is, like, on a target buck to wait all that time, at least on the farm, I'm going to see deer, right? I know they're there and I'm going to see them. You may not see shit on public land for weeks or months at a
Right.
time. It's hard.
Those people, I mean, and I see a lot of people in like Facebook hunting groups where they're trying to get started and people are recommending public land. And I'm like, you better have a strong backbone. You better be a real patient person. And I hate that when people get started, that's their only option. I wish that like more outfitters or guides or something would start programs like grants for these new hunters. I don't know, something where like they can get the knowledge and the background and guided and outfitted hunts so that they don't quit on the first season. Because the first season I ever hunted alone, it was public land. I don't know. I don't know if I would have kept going back.
Well, that's a discussion me and the guys have had internally too, because what we've seen is we do a lot of donation hunts. So we really like the NWTF and North American Deer Registry and different Whitetails Unlimited groups. So we try, especially in that tri-county or tri-state area of West Virginia, Kentucky, Ohio, kind of down there. We do a lot of youth hunts and giveaways, like the NWTF is their Jake's program, and we love that. So afterward, we've had great success, and I think 6 out of 7 kids have actually killed their first bird on my farm there in Kentucky, and it's been great. And sometimes it takes 2 hunts, but for the most part, we normally get it knocked out, the first set. The problem is, so these kids don't have an opportunity to do it outside of that environment. So have we just created a monster now? So we've set this kid's expectations this freaking high, right? I don't,
Right.
shoot this big tom on the first time out. Oh my God, it's going to be easy. But now he gets home and he doesn't have anybody to take him, or he doesn't have any land to hunt on. So it may be years before he gets another opportunity to do it. So I don't know, and I think there needs to be some sort of mentorship or something that people
Hmm.
can do to keep, not only get the kids involved, but keep them there. And if they don't have the opportunity to hunt, you're not going to keep them there. They're going to sit in front of a damn video game or a cell phone, and that's how they're going to grow up. And I feel bad, like what the hell? We got to do, as a country, as a nation, as a group, right? Hunting in general, we've got to have a better way to do this. Because if not,
Yeah.
our industry can go down the tank in a second. Like, hunters will just stop hunting. And before COVID, we were already seeing that, right? There was a huge drop off in numbers. And as bad as COVID was, fortunately, the good thing that came from it is hunting numbers went way up again, because one thing the government let us do, we could still go outside and hunt.
Right. No, I agree with you. One of the reasons I got involved with Whitetails Unlimited is because I wanted to do some form of youth deer camp. And I think that's more along the lines of like have it around the same weekend every year. Um, the same kids come back year after year. Just keep planting that seed and keep giving them more knowledge each year. Something along those lines, I think, is what is really needed. Not these just one-off fishing trips, these one-off hunting trips. They're great and they're super generous for everyone that does it. But I think it plants the seed, but there needs to be like a follow-up to just keep these kids involved. Something.
The organization, the NWTF, that I deal with in the tri-state region, like I said, Kentucky, West Virginia, Ohio, they do a great job year round. They're always doing stuff. They're always doing stuff with the kids. Even when it's not hunting season, they're trying to keep them involved. But and I know a lot of them do. But as a nation, we do a really job getting kids outdoors, even if it's not to hunt. I don't think everybody has to be a hunter, but you can still be outside. You can be outdoors. You can go, backpacking, camping, whatever. Go outdoors, see it. Don't sit in front of a TV with a video game. And I think today's generation of kids, especially with parents, it's easy just to throw them into that and say, here, just play this video game and leave me alone for 2 hours or whatever the it is. And I know all parents aren't like that, but there's a lot that are. I see them. I go out to dinner. I see kids that get a cell phone shoved in their face when they're 1 year old and they're just watching TV and doing other. Take the kid out. Look, you are creating a monster by doing that, is what you're doing.
I'm going to tell you what also is hindering parents getting kids outdoors, specifically into hunting. It had been years since I had hunted with my dad and uncles and been around them. And so when I first wanted to get into it with my son, I started going on social media and looking up women hunters. And guess what I saw? Women wearing, gear that was $2,000, telling me that that's what I needed to go out and hunt, carrying ozonics machines and equipment that I'm Googling. I'm like, okay, I gotta have this to hunt. And I'm like, shit, I can't afford to hunt. And so I'm watching hunting videos. Same thing, looking up the gear. I got set control. I have to do this. I have to wear this. That's what these influencers were telling me as a parent or as a hunter. You have to have this to hunt, to kill a deer like this, or you're not going to be successful. I had no success without this. And so that is another kind of detriment of, hunting on social media and the way it's being put out now is it is hindering people getting outdoors and going hunting. It is hindering people wanting to start getting their kids into it, because what we put out is you have to have all this. This is a special ops mission. You gotta be SEAL Team 6 to get out here and shoot anything. And that's what influencing is doing.
Have carbon sticks, and you've got a $700 lock on that you have to have,
That's
and you've got to have this bow.
crazy.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
What, I remember, as a kid growing up, and we hunted. Fortunately, I came from a hunting family, so at a very young age, that's all we've done. But we had hand-me-down clothes, like army surplus clothes that were handed down from, my aunts and uncles and cousins, so it fit us. And then after that, it was old mossy oak bottom lane camo from Walmart or Kmart back in the day. That's what we hunted with. Nobody gave a shit what you look like. You're trying to get it done. And especially now, like you said, with ozonics and all the scent this and the scent that. And I bought into a lot of that shit and tried it. Has it worked? I don't think so. I think 90% of it's bullshit. You don't need it. I mean, if my grandfather could go out there and wear a red and black checkered fucking flannel with blue jeans on and kill deer every year, do we really need all that other shit?
Right.
It's smoking a Marlboro Red while he's doing it too.
Yeah, all these guys, I mean, it doesn't every single season. I go to the gas station, like taking a break midday or, at the end of the day. It never fails. One of those guys are sitting at the gas station with their butt hanging out the back of the truck smoking a cigarette. I'm like, come on, man. He got it on public land. He used like a 30-year-old rifle. I'm like, damn, I look like an idiot coming up
Right?
here in my scent lock. God, he's
Yeah.
just judging everybody. He don't even need anything. He went there to get another pack of cigarettes. He could have been gone like an hour ago. He's sitting there to be an asshole just to show all these other idiots. Like, you didn't need all that. Like,
Absolutely.
it's
And good
does it
on
on
him too.
purpose.
Yes.
So,
100%. Well, and that was going to
yep.
be, I was leading that into the next question, and you kind of went there. I was going to get your take on the current social influencer culture in hunting, but I think you just destroyed that. You went right for it.
Yeah. Listen, here's the thing. Social media for hunting can be good or bad, but whether you're out here hunting and doing your public land journeys, product reviews, or filming OnlyFans from a deer blind, we're all outside. Well, yeah, we're all out here. I don't know.
Yeah, and going back to your point earlier, I think it can paint an unrealistic expectation. Especially with these people that have big sponsors and they've got brands that support them and that can afford to go to every, the nicest outfitter every year. If the only thing they post is booner sized deer and, monster elk and this and that, well, everybody wants to go kill that. That's not a reasonable expectation, though. That's what people, but
Right.
they don't say that in the comments. They don't say that anywhere. They don't say, well, listen, I did it over here, and that's why it was a private ranch. They only use it for us every year. That's not a realistic expectation. Nobody says that. They're like, hey, if you work hard, you can do that. No, if you've got deep pockets, you can do that. That's a different thing.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I mean, there's got to be people to aspire to, right? Or else we wouldn't have celebrities, we wouldn't have singers. So those are people that should be like what a regular hunter aspires to, or something like that. But there needs to just be transparency in it. Like, I mean, I know we can't say, hey, I'm hunting this Texas ranch as a trade out for advertising. That's why they let me out here. But in actuality, it's 10 grand to hunt here for 3 days. Like, but maybe say it in a way of like, it's an outfitted hunt. Like, this is a piece of property and outfitter that, puts $400,000 into this land every year to get these deer the way that they are and get them to respond and pattern them, so that we have a lot of opportunity to kill out here. Maybe let's just be a little bit more transparent, or at least more people who are doing it the other way. Start posting that journey. Start being more transparent about that. Don't worry if you've gone out there 10 times and missed a turkey every time, or maybe go practice a little bit more. But he went out there 10 times and didn't hear a turkey. Like, let's be open about that. Like, let's talk about it. That's what I want to see.
Well, and you're exactly right. I think the problem that you run into with that is it's not nearly as clickbaity as those short little reels and clips with a monster buck there, and then and you can read through the comments and people are going to throw shit there. I agree. Being transparent, tag your outfitter. Everybody knows. There's no reason to lie about it. Great, it's a great deer. Whitetail's fucking hard no matter where you are. I don't care if you're in a 1,000-acre high fence or you're out on Uncle Bob's pasture. They're not easy. I mean, to me, I've hunted all around the world, and I think the whitetail is probably the hardest animal to hunt, period. For me, I think it's the toughest. And, once you understand that and put in a little time, but these people get shamed into thinking they have to meet this status, right? They have to have, $5,000 worth of sick of shit before they can climb up in the tree stand, before they can even hunt.
Right.
And they've got to have, the newest, the newest arrows and the newest bow and you got to get a new bow because this year's Matthews Lift V2 or whatever the it is 2 feet per second faster than that one. And you got to have it because it's going to make you a better hunter. No, a fucking bear bow from 1980 is absolutely adequate when you're starting with. That thing killed. Fred Bear did it with a stick and a string, for Christ's sakes. If he could, I mean, come on, do you really need all that? Not to get out there, you don't. But that's the problem with the influencers, right? Is they've got the best and they're prepping the, they're essentially just it's just product placement, and they're getting people to buy this. They're trying to. Frankly, I've never bought based on what an influencer says. In fact, I try to go the opposite way. If somebody's deer hunting and they say, "Oh, you got to have this ozonics thing," and you, I ain't buying that. Zero chance.
Right.
It's
I've tried ozonics, and I mean, I agree with scent control. That's where I have a lot of luck with when I make sure that, I'm still and my scent's gone, but I haven't seen a difference, to be honest with you. I don't know.
I'm with you. I do believe you definitely have to hunt the wind. That's priority. And a proper scent regimen probably doesn't hurt. I'm literally looking at 100 years worth of family members that are smoking Marlboro Reds and that are stacking up 150s, 160s, and 170s. Like, I don't know what you're doing over there, kid, but we're fine. So,
I
yeah,
I think
and
the wind's not right. It don't matter what you do.
I think you're
That's
exactly right. They
bottom
will
line.
absolutely smell you, and especially bow hunting. Bow hunting is as hard as it is to hunt with a rifle. You put a bow in your hand, and you just up the ante by 10x.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, this is like a dumb trick, but I take like liquid buck jam, and on my way out to a stand or wherever, a blind, wherever I'm gonna sit, I'll pour it out. Like, I'm talking like 2 gallons, like around the corn pile or whatever. And I don't know, that sweet smell like just gives me enough. Every time I've done that, I have killed an 8-point buck. And I'm talking like 4 or 5 times. So I don't know. I give them something. I distract them from my set. That worked better for me than ozonics ever did. But
Yeah, I
that's my
think
little trick.
my trick that I use is when I'm walking in, I'll take doe piss and put it on my boots to
Yeah,
kind of
the
mask my scent.
bottoms.
Yeah, because especially a lot of time you always try to approach right from the right side, knowing that the deer aren't going to cut your track. Doesn't always happen that way. I've had deer just all of
Right.
a sudden appear out of nowhere behind me, like, you're not supposed to be there. Where did you come from?
Mm-hmm.
And it just walked
Yep.
right down the same path you did, and like, you couldn't smell me? Are you really? So that's one thing that I did. I actually got that trick from elk hunting out in Montana a few years ago. I had an outfitter, swear that, hey, if these elk are turned on, like, take some elk piss and put it on your boot, and
Mm-hmm.
kind of cover your scent a little bit. And I don't know if it works or not. It makes it smell like when you're sitting in the tree stand for several hours, but each their own.
So during rut, I got desperate. I was so pumped up about rut, and I had this buck that I was after, and I wanted him so bad, and I just kept going in and didn't see him, and he was nocturnal, and I took like 8 bottles of Tinks. I don't know if I think it's Blue Label, maybe blue or red, I can't remember. In with me before I sat in the blind. I took and dumped it out near the corn pile like it was a seance. I mean, like 8 bottles. I was like, I don't even care at this point. I was so mad. I sat down. I know this is not gun safety, bow safety, but like I had everything ready. Like I have everything ready as I'm walking in, like everything good to go. But I sat down, and thank God I did. I sat down before I could even unzip my backpack to get some he was there. So I don't know. That doe pistol just do some magic. That like just sense in general.
Yeah.
They will work magic for you.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely, you can't trick a deer. I mean, they say you can't trick a deer's nose, but if you can mask it enough, then you may have a chance at it for sure.
If you can, yep. And that's part of the trick I use is just a scent that ain't you, scent that they like. Just overload that.
Non-human. If they
A
don't
non-human scent, overload it.
Yeah, absolutely. So what does a typical hunt look like for you? So when it's all on your shoulders, I mean, from prep everything, walk us through a typical hunt for you.
So I try to keep everything light and minimum. I don't have the deer carts, and I don't bring all that. I pretty much bring a headlamp, a buck knife, snacks, and a water, and my phone, and a little charging block. Put it in a backpack. I don't love all day sits. I kind of take a break in the afternoon unless it's like during rut. So I mean, typical hunt. But I'll tell you about one that I just had with my son in Virginia. It'll kind of give you a little bit of, just a little bit transparency on like how hunting with a kid actually is. We wake up like 2 a.m. out the door by 3 because everywhere to hunt around here is like an hour and a half, 2 hours away. And I'm probably asking him to wake up about 30 times. He's whining as we get to the door, getting him out. I'm having to carry everything to the car. It takes me 2 or 3 trips to get it out there. Everything, gun, backpack, snacks, chairs, whatever bullshit he needs to keep him occupied in the downtime. by the time we get there, he don't even want to hunt anymore. So I'm having to beg and plead with him sometimes, especially that opening Virginia youth. Like, hey, look, we're gonna get turkey, man. It's cool. We got donuts. Everything's good. I'm bribing him, like getting him to where we need to go. And then we finally settle down, and he takes a little nap, and everything's quiet and it's good. It's peaceful. That particular day, I think by 11 a.m., my Apple Watch said we had clocked like 7 miles. So hadn't heard a gobble all day. Take a break. Thank God, like large Zaxby's Coke just did enough to pep him up, eat some lunch, and give him a second win, just so I could convince him to go back out there. I knew at that point there's no more running and gunning. I got to get him in a blind. So that's what we did. Sit in a blind and, spend probably the next couple hours. Listen, when are we leaving? When are we leaving? When are we leaving? Like at that point, he's burnt out. He's done. But I'm like, if I make it past lunchtime on any hunt, we ain't leaving. Like if you catch me like annoyed with it, like prior to 11 a.m., I'll pack it up and head home. But if we make it past 1 or 2, we're staying until dark. So we sat in the blind. I'm just trying to, keep him like, hey, turkey's coming, to keep him pepped up, right? I'm like, look at the decoy out there, look at the birds. I'm just distracting him at this point from the whining and trying to keep him quiet. And I don't know if that's everybody's experience with taking kids hunting. That's mine. Is after a certain amount of time, he's had enough, and I'm just trying to appease him to keep him quiet. And so, I don't know, it might have been 5 or 6 o'clock. I'm ready to give up. I have not heard a single gobble all day. I see something red coming out of the woods, and I'm like, my heart drops. I'm like, oh my God. I didn't even hear him. He didn't gobble back. I hadn't thrown out a call in 45 minutes because I'm like, let's just stay quiet, and he might come out in this. Something might come out in this field to come eat. It was a clover plot. I had a little decoy out there, and I'm getting my son ready. He's playing on his iPad, got his headphones on. I'm like, shh, shh, trying to make him be quiet. Trying to like, gotta get the gun in position, and he sees it and he like flips out. I'm like, no, like turkey's looking. I'm like, be still. We shoot the turkey together. I, had to help him position the gun and help him aim, and he pulled the trigger. And man, the look on his face, he was like, oh my God, we did it. He's like, I can't believe he came out. He's so excited. He makes me FaceTime everybody in my phone. He's high-fiving me, like all of a sudden he's like, I knew we were going to get one. I knew it. I knew it this whole time he was coming. I'm like, yeah, okay. You've been asking to leave since 11 a.m. And at that particular hunt, we were in the Appalachians on private land, and I had to walk with 2 chairs, a full backpack of all his bullshit and snacks, the turkey, which he was a big turkey. I think he was like a 26, 27 pound turkey, the gun, something else. I can't remember, but I'm like loaded down, having to walk 2 miles down this mountain with all this shit. And he's just like bebopping around behind me, like with his little iPad, like, hell yeah, we got that bird, like, proud of you, Mom. But I'm like, I ain't coming back up this hill, like, we're getting down and we're getting out of here. So, that's a typical hunt. It's just carrying everything and him being excited for a little bit until we hear nothing, see nothing, and then it's like convincing him why we're staying and just keeping him calm. He'll take a couple naps, and it's about it. So
Fantastic. I love it when
Yep.
I love it when they get excited, or I should say I love it when a plan comes together, especially when there's a
Absolutely.
kid involved.
And I'm like afterwards, like I was ready to give up, and I'm like talking to my friends. I'm like, yeah, I pattern those turkeys like deer. I'm like, I knew they were going to come out in that field. And when I deer hunted, they came out there every evening. I'm like running my mouth like I was clean about to give up. That was just luck that day. So
I always preach it's better to be lucky than good.
yes. And I'm going to tell you, 9 times out of 10 it's luck for me. Like, yeah, I provide the food and post up in the best possible situation for the best result, best chance, but a lot of it's luck,
But
especially hunting with him.
you can't kill him from the couch, though. If you don't go,
Nope.
you ain't gonna kill him.
Right.
Just is what it is. But similar to
Exactly.
that, so does anybody ever give you any shit, or do you face like some additional judgment for having him out there hunting with you?
Yeah, so I mean, my family gives me a little pushback. They'll say it's too much for him. He doesn't enjoy it because he'll go to them and say, like, I don't want a turkey hunt this week. I don't want a deer hunt. But, just complaining to them. He wants a little sympathy. But, I kind of tell them I'm out there teaching him responsibility, patience, respect for life. And these are tools he needs to survive and be a good person in the world. And, you know, we ran the turkey woods down for an entire season last year, made mistakes, couldn't catch up, finally got one Virginia youth. And he looked up at me and said, Mom, I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you and what we've done. And like, he's 7 years old to talk like that made everything worth it, you know? So they'd give me a little pushback. And if he poses with a deer or something, I'll get a little pushback on social media. Like, you shouldn't let kids shoot deer that big. And I let him shoot an elk. I don't give a damn.
Yeah.
Like,
But and
it is
I'd
what it
also
is.
I'd be that asshole that saw that comment that jumped down somebody's throat instantly. And you
Yeah.
gotta take him out there. Like I said, what you're doing is
He's out there
great.
with me helping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What the hell else is he gonna do? So going back, is it okay for him to sit in front of the TV with a video game in his lap the whole time?
What is the difference between a 50-year-old man sitting in a deer stand and sitting over a corn pile or just sitting over a travel path on public and a 7-year-old? They're the same. They're putting in the same amount of effort. If he came with me to scout that land and to do the work on the food plots or whatever, they're putting in the same work. What's the difference? He's just not paying for his arrows? Okay.
Yeah, that's coming.
So
You've created
anyways,
a monster
yeah.
now.
I really have. His first, well, he did shoot a spike for his first buck, but his second was a big old 8-point. It's bigger than they got shot last year. So
That's perfect. So give me, looking through here a little. So give me, I mean, you already kind of told the story of the turkey, but give me your favorite story from your time together hunting. Was that the turkey hunt? Was that the most memorable hunt you've had so far?
So last turkey season, him and I came up on a bear den, mama with 2 cubs, and she was growling at us. Basically, like, she growled, we slowly backed up. It was a little sketchy, but the way he tells the story, like, as soon as we get in the car and my mom's on Bluetooth, is, yeah, Lovey, we were hunting, me and mama were hunting, and we came across a 700-pound black bear, and she almost killed us. And she came out lunging at us, and luckily mama scared her away or we would have died out there in the middle of the woods. We didn't have cell phone service, and apparently mama's bullets wouldn't have even taken this bear down. Did you know that, Lovey? And my mom's like, oh my God, what? Because I hunt in Western Maryland, and of course they're out in the spring, and she's like, what? Oh my God, like, he can't go back out there. That is so dangerous. How would I have known how to come get you guys? How nobody knows where you're at. And so I'm like, he's being dramatic. But he's told that story to like 5 other people, and it progressively gets worse and makes me look like the worst mom in the world. And that is so funny to me.
That's good
love it.
times. Ah,
Yeah.
so we're going to shift directions a little bit. So let's talk about what led you to becoming the first female chapter president of Whitetails Unlimited Maryland. How'd that come to be?
So when my son and I got into hunting, I started looking for deer camps just to give him that like old school deer camp experience. And Whitetails Unlimited, I don't know if they necessarily do it like that, but they hold deer camps. And I was looking for one in Maryland. They didn't have a Maryland chapter. So in speaking with the Delaware chapter, he's like, yeah, we need someone to open up a Maryland chapter. Like, lots of deer hunters up there, and we get a lot of them at our Delaware chapter. And so that's kind of how it came together. I was just super energetic about hunting and deer and doing something with it, like along the lines of a deer camp or something for kids. He's like, here, do something with all this energy. So that's kind of how it all came together.
Nice. And did you was there any kind of pushback or resistance from the old guard, or were they kind of supportive?
So not at all. Whitetails Unlimited has been the best company hunting industry wise that I have ever worked with or seen. A few of the corporate people follow me on my social media and have never once like told me to tone it down or had a talking to me, where I've worked with friends in the past that have. And I know that they don't agree with everything I say and all of my points of views and statements, how they've let me be authentic. And I think that their point of view is, Maryland's your community. It's up to you to build the relationships and build this chapter up.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. So, and now let's talk stereotypes for a second. So what are some things you've had to overcome as a woman in hunting?
That I have no clue what I'm talking about. I'm just tagging along with a man doing it on social media for clout. And, you know, the only reason I made social media for hunting like a year ago is because a man told me that I couldn't hunt without him, the friend that took me years ago. And so I was like, I gotta have somewhere to post these bucks so he sees them, because I blocked him. But anyways, uh, so truth is, like, I have my own land leases. I do my own food plots. I gut, drag deer out, load them up, every step of it myself. I don't do outfitted hunts outside of like a goose hunt. Um, I've never done an outfitted deer hunt, and I've never used a guide. I do it all independently, and so that's the biggest stereotype or thing I've had to overcome as a woman in hunting. But to be honest, when you're out in the woods, a turkey deer doesn't care if you're male or female. So I try to tell people, and a man might be capable of dragging a deer out of the woods quicker than me, but outside of that, I don't know what he's going to be better than me at. I physically don't know.
Gender's not relevant in it.
Not for hunting. Like, I mean, even if a deer was too heavy for me to drag it out, four-wheeler, truck, something, I mean, okay.
E-bike, something.
So, something.
So, all right. So how do you feel about terms like, like Huntress or, the pressure to look a certain way or act a certain way? Do you ever think about that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I hate that word. I'm sure I'll get drug in the comments or something because it has like some sacred meaning, but it genders hunters. There's no difference. A hunt is a hunt. And quite often I find that the women who refer to themselves as a huntress are the ones wearing that pink or baby blue trimmed camo and posing in bikini shooting bows. Those are the influencers that we're talking about. And it's funny because I came across this women's hunting group on Facebook not too long ago, and I was really excited. It had like 40,000 members. I was like, damn, like, this is cool. There's a lot of women that hunt in here. And the first post I see is this girl, and I'm talking like a full paragraph post asking how to wear her hair while turkey hunting. Like, what the hell?
And a
Come
hat.
on, man.
With a face mask.
I thought it was satire. I thought she was like trying to be funny, but she was literally commenting, like responding in the comments to people, like asking for tutorials. And I was like, if y'all about getting treated differently in hunting, this is why. You get exactly what you deserve. But coincidentally, she had the word Huntress in her bio. That's the dumb I don't know, man.
Do it. Just go to the search bar in Facebook and just type in Huntress as your keyword, and there'll be 50,000 of them pop up. And 90% or more, I'm going to say, don't have a single picture of a dead animal. No,
they don't. I don't know.
So and a lot of them too, I get it, and I know I'm beating a dead horse with you here, but it gets me. They're like, they post reels and of them driving. They're outside on a fucking lawn tractor with a bikini, and that's what they post. Like, what does that content have to do with hunting?
It's like,
what are you doing
like,
to better the industry or to give back?
They make a platform for that. It is called OnlyFans. I don't know. I get frustrated by it. Everybody's got to hustle, and good for them. Like, if they can make money off of it, cool. But those types of people get all the outfitters and guides and all these people comfortable with speaking to women however they want, because those girls are reaching out, trading out for hunts, which is becoming, it's always been a thing, but I have learned about 5 or 6 different women who have been doing that, who are pretty big influencers on social media, charter trips, guided hunts, outfitted hunts. And it makes, when women like me or other women who are just hunting, are talking and communicating with these guys in the hunting industry, they're so used to those girls that they just don't respect us at all. And they think we're on that same agenda. So.
Well, I mean, I can't argue with you. I mean, I'm similarly that way. I mean, and I'll call out a man too. I don't give a if you're just there if you're shopping for likes, then you. So you've started helping organize women's only hunts. What inspired that?
Mm-hmm. Honestly, I scare all the men when you're talking every time I post like about heated socks. No, I'm kidding. Women were my last resort. But no, it's not about creating a safe space. Everybody's got guns in these woods. Like, we're fine. It was just hard for me to learn from men. If I've got a man whispering in my ear, like, don't take the shot, hold on, steady, clean flip out. So I think other women share that same sentiment. So, I think it's just women are more inclined to listen to other women the first time and not get offended with like the mansplaining, and that's what inspired it. Like I just thought it would be a more comfortable situation for them than having to listen to a man. A lot of the women, what I'm finding that are getting into these women's groups are single. And a lot of them have experienced like domestic violence situations or just bad situations with men. They just want to be around women. And like that kind of gives them a space for that. They don't want a man to teach them to hunt.
Well, you hear this, the satire stuff with the men, they're just trying to get the out of the house, and you see the new, like people do reels and stuff all the time now. We're like, oh, making this excuse to get out of the house to go hunting. But she wants to come with you and she just bought new clothes, doing everything you can to leave your girlfriend in the house because you just want
Yeah.
you want an afternoon without it kind of thing. But,
Yep.
so what do you hope women will take away from those trips that you're putting together and those events that you're organizing?
I hope that they start learning the ropes and use that as a tool to kind of understand hunting and get the self-confidence to go out there and get it on their own. Um, and I hope that they get enough confidence where they don't have to post how to wear my hair during turkey hunting on Facebook groups. Oh,
That
that kills
I
me.
got to start somewhere. Well, what would you say? Okay, so what would you say to a woman who's brand new and doesn't know where to start? What advice would you give them?
So what I did, I learned from a scientific level the animal I wanted to hunt. What does a deer eat? Where do they sleep? When do they sleep? Things like that. Learned the land, started walking it, paid attention to the ground, to the trees, look for signs of the animal. Um, and then once you've got a solid understanding of what an animal does, like what that deer does or that turkey does and where they're living and the signs of them, and you get comfortable with those woods, to be honest, like if you have the money to do it, pay for an outfitted hunt or pay a guide and tell them this is your first time, you've never been hunting, and show you from, top to bottom. That because what I found is, looking at these hunting videos and all of these influencers, there were so many different points of view that it just spun my brain into circles, and I was overwhelmed. And so I really recommend, trying working with an outfitter and talking to them and being honest about this is my first time, and learning from a professional who does this for a living. If you cannot afford an outfitter or a guide, um, learn public land, go out in the summer, research it, walk it, figure it out, and then spend all summer learning a climber. They're not as intimidating as they look. And then just go out there and sit and be quiet and don't have any pressure on yourself to kill anything. Find some camo that keeps you warm and just be still. And even if that's all you do for 2 years straight, watching the animals, observing them, you're going to learn everything you need to know. So obviously target practice and learn your weapon in between that, but
That
that's
was
the
great.
basics.
That was a great response, by the way. That was perfect.
Thanks.
So, all right. So, where do you see the future of female participation in hunting going?
I am hoping that more females take on, and I don't speak for all. There are badass women out here doing the same thing I'm doing and more. But I hope that more females take on the full hunting process independently. I'm talking from scouting the land, getting the land, to gutting it and loading it up. So that we can shift the perception of a woman's purpose in the hunting industry from providing a pretty face or clickbait to make money for a brand, help gain some attention, to just another skillful human being just doing badass things out here in the woods.
All right, so let's change it up a little bit. So that we're kind of closing this thing out now. So we've already surpassed our time, and I've already got you over what I asked you to share with us. But so we'll go rapid fire this time. So just quickly, whatever comes off your mind. What is your one hunt that you can? What is the one and only dream hunt? If you could only hunt this one thing, what would it be?
Yukon grizzly.
Least favorite hunting trend?
Sepia filters on turkey hunting pics.
A go-to gear item that you never leave behind?
Bags of corn.
Best post-hunt
You
meal
wanted
ever.
honesty.
It's perfect. No, it's great. Listen, this is definitely going to be the first reel I'm cutting is coming from this 100%.
Go ahead. What was your question?
Best post-hunt meal?
Sunday gravy.
And what
Me and my son, that's our ritual.
keeps you coming back to the field?
That stomach drop feeling when something you've been after walks in. That feeling like in your stomach.
That
Was it the
adrenaline popping.
adrenaline? Yep. So
Like it. Well, listen. So Emily Andrews, thank you very much for keeping it raw, real, and refusing to play by someone else's rules but your own. You're proof that you don't need permission to be a force in the industry. So tell people that people want to follow your story, or if they want to reach out to you, how they get in touch with you.
I'm Emily Andrews on all the socials, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. So just search my name.
That's it for this episode of Saltlick Worldwide. Whether you're out in the wild, stuck in a traffic, dreaming about it, remember, live free, hunt hard, and keep chasing the adventure. Until next time.